perhaps.
I don't know where, but I recognise the place.
Can we start? Yeah.
How did you start as a comic writer, artist?
I started when I left art school. I decided when I was at art school that that was what I wanted to do. Having seen somebody produce some work, they came back the next student. And I said, that's just what I want to do. So when I left art school, I tried, and everybody turned me down. But I eventually got to work with Marble Man, and that's how I started.
Do you have a special education in drawing, in
Strip work?
strip work?
No, none at all. No. It's very, very much frowned upon in the English art schools. I mean, you just don't do it. It's prostitution. So I went against the grain by doing it. And nobody's ever acknowledged me since then because of it.
No.
The attitude towards
Sorry.
the attitude towards comic strips in Britain is very different from the attitude here, especially here now in Breda.
Very different. Very different.
Much more for children.
Yes, very much for children, and it's certainly not, as I was explaining to somebody earlier on, it's something that you read in the lavatory rather than in the lounge. Yeah, it describes it quite well.
Is it when you started, you wanted to be a comic artist? Wasn't that a handicap? The low degree of acceptation in England?
Yes, I mean, when I left art school, I had to keep it very quiet, the fact that I was going into it. They expected you to go into be an illustrator or a painter. And I very surreptitiously went round to the agents, but again I had no success. But I knew that was what I wanted to do.
Where did you start? I mean, what was your first comic?
The first actual job I ever had was with a magazine called Dolphin, which was given away with the tailors. If you bought a suit, you got this comic with it, you know. Which didn't seem much of an inducement to me, but it was a very bad comic. But after that I got on to Marble Man. I was paid the princely sum of £1 a page. It's about 4 guilders or so.
A page?
A page, yeah, black and white. I produced about, the first week I produced 1 page with very hard work. You know, I drew every window very carefully. But after that I gradually speeded up and I got about 10 pages a week out in the end. Which it's a reasonable living.
Was it realistic or humoristic?
No, it was, you know, like, it's the English version of Captain Marvel.
Oh, yeah,
very much
yeah,
that's their style. Marvel, yeah. We had to keep it very fluid, you know, like that.
When did you start Trigger Empire?
Well, that was after I'd started with IPC. Well, it wasn't IPC then, it was the Amalgamated Press and Oddhams and all that lot. But I started, after I'd done Wells Fargo, I'd done Carl the Viking, and then they had this big idea, they were going to produce this new strip, and it was a big deal, and that was when I started.
Did you do anything before that in this colour style?
No, nothing at all. I did one job in colour, and they turned it down, it was terrible. And they said, Lawrence is not a colouring, you know, he can't do colour. But what happened was I did one episode of Carl the Viking in colour for an annual, and I did that rather well, which surprised me as well as everybody else.
Same style, full colour as
yeah,
in the
that's
Trigger
right.
Empire?
Yeah, yeah. And that's what gave me, I think, the job. And from then on, you know, it all went well.
Did you have any influence on the stories for the
None at all.
None at all.
No, I just got Mike Butterworth's scripts, and I just worked on it.
You started with Mike Butterworth?
Yeah.
How did you meet him?
I never met him.
You never met him?
No. I did eventually meet him. I went down to Devon once and I happened to meet him. But that was pure coincidence. After I finished the Trigon Empire, that was. I spoke to him once or twice on the telephone. But that was all. And when I did meet him, actually, we didn't get on very well together. He was drunker than I was, you know.
For how long?
You don't mind if I drink, do you?
For how long did you make this Trigger Empire?
I think it was 10 or 12 years, something like that.
You did nothing else during that time?
Yeah, I did Mayfair, the Carrie in Mayfair. Yeah.
That was the only thing during that time.
You're testing me now. Yeah, I think it probably was. Yeah, yeah.
And did you like it? during all those 10 or
No.
12 years?
No, no,
Didn't
no.
like it at all?
No. Well, I mean, you know, periods I liked it very much, and periods when I got totally depressed with it. And I mean, I had 5 children at the time, and it's very difficult to produce, you know, a steady output when you've got 5 children, all of whom are hungry and poor. You know. Yes.
And,
What is your personal opinion about the Trigon Empire, about the comic strip?
I never really thought about comics. I mean, it was a job. It wasn't anything that you actually considered aesthetically. It was just something you did. And it was only after I left the Trigon Empire that people started putting sort of values to it, something that I never done before. So, no, I never thought about my work. I just thought I'd do it and get the money. That was all I did it for.
And on the moment, with your Storm comic,
What's it? Sorry?
you have at this time you have an opinion on your work, or it's just work?
Just work.
Still?
Yeah.
Still the same.
No, at that stage it was. Now I've become a bit more discriminating. But at that stage I was just, if I could get the money and in order to pay the bills, you know, that was all I was worried about. I wasn't worried about the aesthetics or whether I was getting better or not or anything like that.
But do you like the work you make now, the stories and so on?
Well, as a general principle, I don't like anything I've done. I always like the thing I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I look back at my previous work and I hate it. No, that's unfair. I don't actually hate it, but I don't like it. All I see is faults. I'm surrounded by faults. But I always think tomorrow I'm going to really do it. You know? So that's the principle I always work on. Hopefully tomorrow's going to be better. But I don't have a great deal of pride in my work.
How did you come to Holland? You were invited?
Well, yes. I mean, what happened was that there was a convention in England, the Comics 101, in which a certain person put to me that I was quite popular in Europe, which is something I really had no idea at all. I didn't even know anybody bought it. I had no feedback at all from IPC. I mean, I literally, they never said, you know, you're popular or you're not popular. I got no response at all. And suddenly I went to this convention. Everybody said, you know, you're published in Italy, and you're published here, there, and everywhere. That's because my head swole, you know, visibly. I said, right, I want more money, you know. They said, piss them off. No, sorry. Sorry. They said, drop off, you know. So I was left high and dry. But the Dutch had been after me at that stage, and I just took him up. They accepted all the terms that I offered. And from then on, I was always worked for Oberon. And been very happy to do so.
What do you think of the artists who draw Trigon Empire now? Did you see their work?
No comment. No, it's very difficult. You can't take over somebody else's script.
That's right.
It's impossible. I mean, I had my own characterisation. The poor devils, Oliver Frey and Jerry Wood. It's very difficult.
Your cooperation now with the writers, is it more close cooperation than it used to be in England?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I've actually met them, you know.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
But do you have any influence now on the stories?
Yes, in the sense that I can adapt what he writes to my own particular vision of it. So therefore, I've always had a bit of control over it. I mean, same with Mike Butterworth. He would put forward ideas, and I would, if I didn't like them, I would cancel them.
But not on the stories themselves?
No, not on the storyline. I never affected that at all.
You wouldn't like it?
I'm not a very good writer. I mean, that's
But probably you could, before starting a story, before the writer starts a story, you could talk together and
oh yeah,
put in
yes.
some
One
ideas
could
of
talk
yourself.
about general ideas.
Yeah.
Not that it makes much difference, but I mean, one can talk about it. You know.
There's also another influence from your side. For instance, that you tell the writer, I like to draw trees or cars or beautiful women or other things. You can give those ideas to them and they write the story with the special things you like to draw.
Hopefully, yes, but it doesn't work out that way usually.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I mean, I love seascapes. I love doing seascapes, but there's not a lot of yardage in seascapes in strip work, you know. A beautiful scene, I mean, nobody's really interested in that.
How many pages do you make in a week?
Officially 2 pages a week in full colour, but it doesn't work out like that. I'm tending to take 8 days a week over the pages. I think it's the aging process has had something to do with this. And also the fact that I want to do it better. And I want to put more into it.
Takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
But also the way your style, the way it's done, I think it takes a lot of time for a comics.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yes. Well, I don't know. I think you ought to. I think you ought to put as much as you can into it. I always, when I was a kid and I read comics, I always felt cheated if I couldn't go into the scene and live the whole scene. And what I always like to do is that I like to go into the picture and live it, and I can see what it's really like. And once I believe in the story or that picture, I can go ahead, and it makes sense. But I hate cheating. I don't like cheating at all.
What do you think, in general, is the biggest difference between British comics and European comics from the continent here? Like they are made here in Holland.
Enormous difference. English comics tend to go for impact. This is what they really go for. You break the frame with somebody bursting out, very three-dimensional.
Action and violence.
Yeah, which has enormous impact, far better than the Continentals. But it has nothing beyond it. You can't. You see it and you're impressed by it, but that's it. It's finished. Where the Continental ones, you can read it and you can go back and enjoy it, and it's a more leisurely pursuit, more like a book.
That's superficially here, and then.
But the English has much better impact. It really powers out at you, and I like that.
Like the American superheroes
that's right.
impact. Same impact.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is there influence from the Americans?
Oh yes,
From
you
the
can't
American
help
comics?
it. Yes. But I have a temptation now to break frames, or do a vignette, or do something where the tendency is on the continent is to square everything up, and everything must be neatly on the page. I don't dig that very much. I much prefer breaking them.
You don't do it in Storm? Well,
Not a lot.
The squares.
No. Yeah, but I sometimes have a full page, when I can really let myself go, and I enjoy that very much. It's the same sort of thing. But I still think that impact is important in strip. I think a lot of strip on the continent is rather boring in the sense that you open it and one page looks much the same as another. I think it's better if each page has its own individuality.
Depends on the story as well.
Of course, yeah. But an adventure one in particular, with a domestic thing, obviously that doesn't matter.
What are your plans now? Continuing Storm or doing something else?
Yeah, for the near future, I should carry on the story.
You don't have any other plans?
No.
Would you like to make a strip of your own completely?
Yeah.
You said you're not a very good writer, but
I'd love to.
The writing as well.
Yeah.
What kind of strip would that be? Science fiction?
I think it would probably be sword and sorcery more than science fiction. I think I prefer sword and sorcery. I like magical qualities about things.
There is something of sword and sorcery in Storm as well. Some
so.
elements I think are recognizable.
I like that. I like that aspect of it. I think that's underplayed a lot in science fiction books because they do tend to be too scientific. I don't like that.